All right, so a little bit about me, because there's a couple of you that don't know me. My name is Christopher Sweeney. I teach in Philadelphia. I've been teaching for about 23 years. I just got the 2019 NAEA Art Education Technology Outstanding Teacher of the Year. And a few years ago, I got the 2016 PAEA Outstanding Secondary Art Teacher of the Year. I'm a pioneer for Ultimaker, which means I'm an ambassador for them. Also Chibatronics, which makes coatable LEDs, and Makey, who make, for better lack of a word, a conductive board that can work with anything from bananas to water to aluminum foil, and Morphe, which is a 3D modeling and virtual reality and augmented reality app. So this is 3D printing and digital fabrication for the art and design classroom. Like I said, I apologize for that 5-minute lax of Zoom being weird. So these are just some of the images of things from the past, we'll say 3-4 years that I've done with my students. So I do a lot of collaborative things, and I'm actually designing and creating art and design with my students. Same thing with my student teacher. I was just talking to Jill about how I just came back from war this afternoon. She had her some work with my students, and there's a couple other student teachers, and they had their design work and their artwork from their collaborative placements for their student teaching. So that was a lot of fun. And I got to see one of my rock star students, so that's always cool. So this is actually a brand new piece. It's actually just printed. This is actually a 9th grader. On the bottom is the link. I will share all the goodies, like I said, of stuff from Ultimaker, stuff from Cooper Hewitt, and a couple of videos to get your students into 3D printing. And everything that I have posted there is stuff that I use with my students. So I'm gonna there's a couple quotes in here that are artists. They aren't so much designers. But kind of has to do with what I do in my classroom and how you can go about it. I'm not special in any sort of way. I just work really hard, and I work with my art education and my art background. I just design kind of plopped in my plate via 3D printing. But one quote that I like a lot is this Robert Rauschenberg one. You begin with the possibilities of the materials. So it doesn't matter if it's sculpture, if it's drawing, it's painting, printmaking. I've been doing probably more printmaking than anything lately. I probably haven't painted, it's horrible to say, painted in probably like a year, just because I've been doing more 3D and more 3D to 2D to printing. So these are my 3D printers. Can everybody see that? Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I want to make sure that we're not, we got a question. And please feel free to, if you have questions or whatever, I'll try to answer them as best I can. But these are my 3D printers. I own the middle one from Chad. The other two big ones are on permanent loan from Ultimaker. And that blurry one on the one that has the S is actually my food 3D printer. So I'm really super lucky that even though Chad's not really financially doing so hot right now, they really support me more than my old school district. So I really start out with the materials, and I go from there. These are just some of mine. We'll talk more about some of the materials and some of the things. This one actually isn't touched up too much. But there's a portrait, there's some turtle art. I think the one on the right is, actually no, I think both of these are turtle art. And there's turtle art with something called Chimera, which I'll show you guys towards the end. So we're real super lucky that we have, I've got a good relationship with the Penn Museum. And it started before I even started to do 3D printing, or just started 3D printing in my old school district in the Philly suburbs. So we do 3D printing with artifacts, and then you get something called a loan box. So if you're local to the Penn Museum, you can go and you could, I think the loan box are $75 for like almost a month, and you can actually 3D scan them. And some of them are repops, which meaning that they're a reproduction. Other ones are not. Other ones are like the one I'm going to show you in a minute, actual real artifacts that are like 1,000 years old. So that's really something super cool. And I just got that through just literally talking to one of the conservators. I think her name is Molly Gleason. She's in the artifact lab, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So this is a 2nd century sculpture of Aphrodite. It's a Roman copy, and on the bottom is the copy that I printed in bronze. Can everybody see that? Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what do we do with the fabrication? And I'm going to show you guys, and I can show you on Tinkercad later. Is this is not printed on the Ultimaker, so you're going to see the lines that are on a little bit. But now Tinkercad has Braille. So what we do is my students and I, we 3D scan the artifacts. I used to do it with my phone. Now I have, courtesy of UArts, because they're awesome, I have a 3D scanner that attaches to my phone, and then we 3D scan them, and they put Braille, and then we give them back to the museum, and they use them for tours with the docents for people that are visually impaired or blind. These are some of the ones that are actually when I just first started. So we have bronze, and the top on the bottom left is, I believe, wood or bamboo, and the bottom one is done in, yes, that is bronze as well. So what I do is with post-processing, and I do this with my students, is I take a rock tumbler, and I was actually there today, from Harbor Freight. And Harbor Freight is great because if you break anything, you can bring it back. So I think I'm on my 3rd rock tumbler. I haven't done much. So on the left is something called Mesh Mixer, which I can show you guys later. And Mesh Mixer is how you clean the manifold or the actual 3D scan. And you clean it and fix any holes from the scan. Then you 3D print it, and then you put in the rock tumbler with a bunch of different brass screws, and then you get out the wonderful design that's there. But we were super lucky. Allison Mitchell's the woman that I deal with at Penn. This is a couple of years old. You see the students are, this guy's a retired professor, so he's got a doctorate. He knows his stuff, and I forget the gentleman's name, but we got, and the other gentleman as well. Like they were all, retired emeritus professors at Penn. So we got to, excuse me, actually hold on to like that. I guess that's an ostrich egg and a bunch of different masks because I think we had African artifact. So we got to actually 3D scan. I actually have scans from both of these. Davion, who's in the white mask, he actually is graduating and going to a very good school. I want to say Rutgers, but anyways, the one on the top is Hermes, and I literally had to stand on my tippy toes on my own time, and I 3D scanned that. And it's just I was actually talking to my adopted aunt, who was the art teacher at my dad's school. My dad taught math for 35 years, and my aunt was very influential because her father was a shipboat captain, and he would go to Egypt a lot, and she would bring back, knockoffs of stuff. This got me really interested in archaeology, anthropology, and bring that to my students. Here's the artifact lab where you can actually go in. You're local to Philly, or even if you want to come with your kids. They're great. They have certain hours posted, of course, usually during the week, and you can actually see them working on restorative things. The one day that we were there, this was a child mummy that they were working on. I believe that one was a cat, and that one was a bird. And there's a large view of the artifact lab. So I'm really lucky. I live really, really close to Penn, and that's kind of where that relationship came from. And literally, that might even be Molly in that green dress in the back. And I just happened to talk to them, and they got me connected with Allison Mitchell. All right, so another quote: "Give the people something to do, not something to learn, and the doing is such a nature as to demand thinking. Learning naturally results." John Dewey. My kids really think with their hands. If you're familiar with Seymour Papert and Turtle Art from MIT, these are some of the senior works from a couple years ago. I hadn't really done too much printmaking with them. They were really, these are large, by the way. They're probably, that top green one is probably about 12 inches wide. It's really huge. Probably took like 10 hours to print. Even though they're flat, they're very, very intricate. This is a screenshot of turtle art, and everything that I use here except for Morphe, and Morphe is free for 30 days. Everything I use is freeware because I know about 3/4 of you that are on here, and I work at a Title I school, so I do not have a ton of money. So things that I use are usually free. So all right, this is a larger one, and this was probably not done on the Ultimaker. I want to say it was actually, excuse me for 1 second, let me just get rid of that one right there. This one also, actually this one's, I just had this girl, we just finished quarters. So I just had this 10th grader, and this one is actually on view on Chad. This girl is special ed, and she is just amazing with her focus. Not that it matters if they're special ed or not. We have a very large special ed population in Chad. It's about 34%, but this girl was so intense with like the way that she's been designing with paper circuits. But this was last year when she was a freshman, and this is now on display. So if you go down 7th Street, you can actually go see that. So I'm teaching them basic coding with Scratch, and this Scratch we'll talk about in a minute. And we go from that turtle art with just basic things, and we make physical computing. Here's one of those other ones. You could see 2 different angles. Like these are pretty large prints. Let's get this one. So what I've been getting them into is app smashing. App smashing, we go from one app to another app to another app. So this is turtle art that I've taken into something called Piscal app, which I can show you guys later. And that's something fun where you can actually take something that they've coded and then bring it into a live animation. All right, this is my piece de resistance. This is not the best photo. This girl's name is Danielle, and she is wonderful. She's a 9th grader. She took Morphe, which is the bottom design, turtle art, which is in the middle, and the top is Chimera, which I'm going to show you later, which is, I think that's oxygen is the molecule. Pretty cool. And this was about a 20-hour print. It looks a little sticky because the Ultimaker 3 has 2 nozzles. One has the plastic. The other one has something called PVA, which is pretty much, it's made out of alcohol. So it's a support material, so that's why you get some intricate designs. And this is actually in our current design show, which is at our school on the 4th floor. All right, another great quote besides the Rauschenberg: take an object, do something to it, do something else to it. That's like my mantra of taking something and just hacking it or flipping it or taking different pieces together. So these are the Makey musical instruments, 3D printed turtle mashup. I don't use the turtle art as much with these, but I teach basic fabrication, and my 9th grade class is called Fabrication, by making musical instruments and then adding the Makey components. So these are actual real playable, either musical instruments or game controllers or things of that nature. There's the Makey in case you don't know what it looks like, and I can definitely, if you guys want, and we have a little bit of time at the end, we can go ahead and I can show you a little bit that I don't actually have one in my studio right now. We start off with graphite controllers, and I let them play video games like Pac-Man and Space Invaders. So they understand the basic structure of circuits and the basic understanding of, excuse me, of how this thing works with coding. And it's a very low ceiling and wide walls with understanding. So that and the Gerardio, which we'll get to in a little bit. So here's one of the first ones. Paint job's not the best. We can see the turtle art on the right, which he designed, and it had 5 buttons. The rule was they had to have 5 buttons and then a ground. The ground closes the circuit, so this kid could actually play the trumpet if he created the scratch code on the computer. So I had this wonderful student. She's a junior, soon to be senior. Her name is Mahogany. She asked, since I get them for free, can I take the the makey and embed it into the guitar. And I said, sure, because I had a couple extra ones floating around. So this girl spent a month. She would bring it home. She would come after school. And she created this guitar. And this guitar is still around, and she uses it on they have a band club. And there's Mahogany a couple years ago. And she had the turtle art on the outside. And she has Model Magic around there. And it works. You can see the 3D printer that printed her designs in the back. This is one of a more updated one. And if anyone, if the docs don't answer your questions, I know about 3/4 of you, and the other ones that I don't know, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can totally hook you up or give you the, by hooking up, I mean I can get you a discount or help you out or show you in the right area. This is using conductive filament. This student, Elijah, is also one of Mahogany's classmates. And this one, he let me have, and he spent a long time fabricating the outside shell of this, and then we 3D printed using conductive filament from a company called Proto Pasta, P-R-O-T-O Pasta, just like regular pasta. They're based out of Seattle. And this one actually works with a regular, you had hooked up to a Makey and had like an online game, it plays flawlessly. So some of you guys know I work in a Title I school, so I've got a lot of forces. So don't fight forces, use them. R. Buckminster Fuller. So I use a lot of those energies in positive ways. A little side plug, I'm going to be doing a webinar July 17th for NAEA for apathy in the art room, dealing with difficult children who might not want to learn, and because I'm pretty decent at it. So I'm going to be doing a talk about that and probably showing a lot of these slides. So I use a lot of different forces. So I had a senior class, and this is one of them. And we did a community chess set. So and I also had a wonderful student teacher from Moore, and that's Corinne, who's, I think she's still at CCP. And each student had to design their own chess piece, and we made it random, and they had to put their hands in the bag, and they had a minute to exchange with someone else in the class, and she became the bishop. You could see her wonderful fabrication techniques, which I did not teach her. Like I said, she was a senior. There's Saeed Watson in the orange. We'll talk about him in a minute. So there, you can see they're designing, I want to say he's a rook. There's Saeed with his bishop. Another student. So we had a great time with that, fabricating it. It was just wonderful. It wasn't my idea. Not everything that I do comes from me. This came from Josh Berker. He's got a couple books out. I highly recommend both of them, just as a repertoire for the art and design teacher. He's more of a maker ed guy, but I kind of borrowed this idea from him and really went with it. And there's Julius's Knight, and there's a bunch of different pieces. And they painted them, so we presented them, we painted them, and then we also had a full chess piece. We had a full black and white one, which is this one right here, that we gave to the chess. I think it's missing one piece that wasn't printed. And then we had the bronze one, which I'll show you in a minute. So there's Mesh Mixer. Mesh Mixer is to clean up the holes in the scan or the matrix. These are just some bad screenshots. They're not the best in the whole world, but you can see the crap on the bottom. That was probably the stool he was sitting at. And then we had to clean that up in Mesh Mixer and go from there. And there's my wonderful, and actually I have one of them at home, one of them is at work, the rock tumblers that I use. So before, during the middle, and then after. And there's the chess set. This was also an article for Ultimaker 3D printers. The article's on my website, which you'll see at the end slide. And these are the new updated ones that we just did in right before my student teacher came. And it was a lot more, because I already had the measurements. My student teacher, Lindsay, was very nice, and she went to the FIDE, the Federation of International Chess, and she went and got the correct measurements, so that all the measurements are correct for the particular pieces. So it was a lot, the flow was a lot better where I did it myself. I didn't need a student teacher, but it totally can be done. You could do, I'm going to be teaching up in, and this is a non-plug, up at the Da Vinci Art Center for the Union Carbide intermediate unit this summer. And we're going to be doing, not even chess pieces, probably just going to be doing game pieces. So it's a great way. Even if you have like a little dinky $200, $300 printer, there's another app called Trinio, Trinio, and you could get the same scans from it. It's a little bit dodgier than the one that I have, but it still does the same thing. These are a couple of ones we did self-portraits with designs made in Morphe. These two are graduating. I actually see the girl on the left. She actually left for about 6 months, or not 6 months, about 3 months to have a child, and she's back and she's graduating, and she got to a great school where she is going. She actually has a room where has an extra room for a baby, so it's fantastic. And Thomas is probably going to be end up going to Tyler, and his actually piece won Best in Show last spring. All right, now we're getting to the empathy sort of area, and this is where stuff with the SARE project, which we'll talk about in a minute. Place to improve the world is first in one's own heart and head and hands, and then work outward from there. Robert Persig, who wrote Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. So this is Sarah. If you know Laura Ross, she's on the bottom right. So this came about from Lily Fan, talk that we attended, and a few adult beverages, and talking about I have a 3D printer. She's got a student with spastic cerebral palsy. The one on the top left is my recent one. Same thing with the big picture on the bottom left, but the one on the right was the first one that actually Saeed designed. And then this was the first time this girl had ever drawn or ever created anything without the help of anybody. And you can see on her, and she's nonverbal. So the laser scope, she has different terms on there, and it says, "I love it." I mean, if that doesn't get you teary-eyed, I don't know what does. So right now I'm selling them at cost, just my time and labor. And then actually looking into a little side note, we're trying to get some bigger, I wouldn't say commercial, but getting them to sell them on some maybe NASCO or Blick. So we can get those out to people and it's just a drawing aid, so I'm not a doctor yet. All right, the principal goal of education in the school should be creating men and women who are capable of doing new things, not simply repeating what other generations have done, Piaget. So reason I put that in there, these are some ways, and this is really, if you're a little concerned about the actual 3D printing and design aspect, Drawdio is the easiest way to get people in there. Can everybody see the middle mural okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So these are one of my favorite ones. On the bottom is what a Drawdio looks like. Drawdio is kind of like a theremin, where you're when you close the circuit, it makes a squeaky sound. So these students are connecting the Drawdio, which I have in a hack box. So I actually hacked it and I put extra microphones. I do have a microphone or in jack, extra speakers on them, because the one that comes with it, which is the one on the bottom, really isn't too loud. So this is one of my piece de resistance a couple years ago. And yeah, how beautiful that is. These are some of the makey-makeys. Like I said, I was at Moore today, and I loaned Kaylee one of mine. So I have all of mine either laser cut or in boxes that I got at the flea market. I love flea markets. And it's some of them have, the one on the top has orange and white cones that I made in Morphe. But if you can solder, you can buy it from Adafruit. It's ADAFRUIT. Just type in Drawdio. It'll take you 30, if you know how to solder something from, a stained glass class or something else, it'll take you half an hour and you'll have something cool that the kids can make an interactive drawing with. My next big thing is, and if anyone wants one, you can reach out to me, is the Open Press. They just got on Kickstarter. They're actually selling them, either the plans or you can buy one. It's a more advanced one than the one you see in the bottom. It is 100%, and I just actually bought some bolts today, just like those, 100% 3D printed mini press. So you can do intaglio, you can do dry point, you can do relief prints like me, you can do monotypes. On the top left are a bunch of different images. I love printmaking as much as I love painting and drawing and sculpture. Most of those prints actually on the top left are in a show in Cologne, Germany. That's going to be in Lisbon, I think a bunch of other places in the EU. So I'm really excited. On the top left is a picture of my son Hutch. And on the right there, people want to know about real steam. This is real steam here. These are, I color separated a photo that I had taken with my, I want to say with my $3, no, yeah, my $3 fisheye that I got from Five Below via my phone, and then I color separated it, and then I made the prints over there. And then the Morphe is on the bottom. Some of them are turtle art. Some, I think most of them are, no, I take that back. Probably 50% are Morphe, 50% are turtle art. That's my newest one. The other one is a little bit more advanced, but everything like I said, is totally doable. And I just did a, and I didn't put a link, but you can get it from my website. I did a tutorial on how to use conductive lights, and I even use IKEA lights with mine right now with Chibatronics and Bear Conduct. Chibatronics are the one on the left. They are coatable lights. Mine are soldered. It's a little bit more advanced, so this would probably be, you know, maybe a 10th grade, 11th or 12th grader. On the right is Bear Conductive lights. I did simple T lights and simple LED lights with my 11th graders. We grew them. I grew them in a closet. We popped them out, and then we had the lights for our design show. And I was at a fluke. My former CEO sent me a link for Design Philadelphia, and I applied and I got in. And I was going against some architecture firms in Philly and big design firms, and they put me in as best of show as like an alternate. So I was very, very, I'm not the most religious person, but blessed. I was very pleased. I was really, really happy. And hopefully I'm going to try to get in this year. And this year I'm going to be doing a chandelier. So that's kind of on the DL. I've actually got a bag of the mycelium growing right behind me. These are some of various. There's on the bottom left are the mycelium lights. I've also been working with the Finch Robot, yay Pittsburgh. I actually did a little consulting with them because they gave me another loaner. On the top left is a Morphe designed brooch. There's some more 3D printed on the top right things for, we did a whole, 11th graders did a whole, I guess, course for the Finch. And on the bottom right, we just finished this project, my student teacher and myself and my 10th graders. This one is from last year. And those are coatable lights that my wonderful student Lena designed. And here are two of the designs that are were in the Design Philadelphia. The one on the top left has conductive buttons. Eventually it's going to be, this is more me, but I still share all my stuff with my students. This one is going to have buttons so that people who are physically disabled, all they need to do is just touch and the lights turn on and off. And there's the finished Chibatronics as opposed to the ones that are over here that don't have the turtle art in front of them. On the bottom is some brand new stuff, which if you really want to get into it, I can talk to you over an adult beverage. This is the structure scanner. I mean, not structure, I mean the structure 3D printer. So now I'm getting into bioprinting, and I'm getting into, that's Nutella, as long as your kids don't have allergies. So we've been getting into that. I haven't printed probably since the, I had my student teacher came on. And in the bottom right is a bag of mycelium and a really good book that I really, if you're interested, called Biodesign, Nature of Science and Creativity. And I forget the gentleman's name, but it's an amazing book. And in the bowl, it's kind of hard to see. It's that same design. Is something called Grole. Grole is this German designer. His name is Kai Perthy, and he makes stuff, 3D printed materials with Bricklay is one of them. He's got all these different weird materials. And the new one is Growlay, where you can actually grow mold. You could grow tomatoes on it. I grew mycelium on it because I'm trying to go 100% recyclable. And thank you. I'm going to keep talking. That's the end of the PowerPoints. If everybody wants to do a screenshot, so on and so forth. So we got about 20 minutes. So let's hide that. Can everybody still see my window and everything?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, let's talk about designing for a second. All right, let's pull up Morphe. And then probably do some quick designing and spend maybe some time going into, I'm going to go full screen. So this is Morphe for some of you that don't know this. I'm going to minimize that. So all right. You could do a bunch of cool stuff on here, just like Tinkercad. And that's why I'm not showing Tinkercad, because everyone does this. You could pull all sorts of different cool shapes in here. The new thing is lithophane, which I'll show you in a minute. But I'm not going to get into so much of that designing because we're all art teachers here and artists. We're going to go to 2D to 3D, which is my new favorite thing that you can do. If you are into vectors and stuff like that, this is the thing for you. So we're going to go to 6, mirror, and guides. So the cool thing about the new Morphe, and I'm not plugging this, is what I use for designing. I designed the Sarah project in this one. You can do cool designs like this very, very quickly. Then you can go to edit it, and you can take those pieces and make them smaller, make them non-round. So again, if you know how to use vectors, this is the way to go. And then you can still go back and you can still edit them just like that. When you like what you want, you go to 2D to 3D. Well, I need to move my video screen there. And boom, you have a 3D print. Right now, this is ready to 3D print, and I'm going to actually take you through the whole process with on the slicing.
And we're still seeing the last screen of your PowerPoint.
Oh no, hold on. Sharing is paused. Hold on. Resume sharing. All right, hold on. Sorry about that. I'm gonna go. Oh, I need to share. Sorry about that, guys. I did not know. Let me tell everyone, sorry. All right, sorry about that. Put out a keynote for a second. All right, share. Oh, there we go. Is that better, guys? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go backwards just because not everyone got to see that. All right, so we're 2D to 3D. We created this using the radial settings here. Like I said, I'm not plugging Morphe, it just is what I use. And then 3D design it right there. And this, literally the sizing is ready to go in my open press, which, and I can scale this down. I can do the measurements. Yeah, right now, this is, what's that in millimeters? Right now, I don't have to do anything. I can literally 3D print this, and I can actually go, excuse me, and I can actually print that on the press right now. I probably have to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm gonna hit Shift a little bit. This is part of my, I think 2.5 inches is probably the biggest I can do for that. Then you can zoom around. And if you have an iPad, it's even easier to use this. I unfortunately do not have iPads in my classroom, so I'm limited with some of the augmented reality. We'll do 2.5 is usually what I use for that, and then I take the piece right there, and that's ready to 3D print. The other cool thing that Morphe can do, and you can also use this in Tinkercad, is lithophane. So we're gonna select an image. Let me go to my photos. Bear with me a second. Photos. And it's literally this easy to take something like a photo of your kid or your dog, like, because I like printing pictures of my dog sometime. We'll pick a picture of my son. So we're gonna make 3D. So that's literally all you have to do. Take that, and we can actually 3D print that, add things to it. I can add a frame. I can do all sorts of cool stuff with that. There's other settings in Cura, and if you want to know how to do that personally, I can show you. Let's go to Cura because I know we're running out of time, and I still want to show you Chimera and a couple other things. So we're going to go back to 2D, 3D, and our design is still there. So we can go back to 3D, and I'm going to escape, and then hopefully you guys are still with me. Now I'm going to save it as STL. That's for stereolithography, in case you don't know. And I'm going to save that STL, and we're going to call this PAEA because I love you all. And then we're going to go to desktop and save this. And sharing is paused, so we got to pull up here in a second. Hold on 1 second. Let's pull up Kira here. That. So resume share. Oops, new share. All right, Kira. Can everybody see Kira now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I have a bunch of different printers here. Again, this is freeware. I have my Dremel, my Monoprice, which is my $200 cheapo printer, and then all my Ultimakers. We're going to pick the biggest one, which is the 2 Extended Plus, and Sweeney, which is the one that has the dual nozzle. So we're going to go to the 2 Extended Plus, and you'll see the platform. Okay, there is recommended, which I know some of you have used this before. We're going to do 20% at 15, and then usually we'll drag it, but since we're on the Zoom, we're going to go to File, and we're going to look for, where are we? Desktop. And we're going to look for PAEA because I love you all. So there's that design, and it's going to show up right there. Now, it's pretty small. Now, it's going to slice it. Before we do that, we want to flatten it. It's very important that, and I tell my students this, at flat. Now, these are pretty easy to print. This is only 5 minutes, okay? Now, if we wanted to make it bigger, we can scale it up, and we can go up to, I don't know, whatever size you want. Now, that wouldn't fit in my, that would not fit in my, my open press to do some printmaking, but that would be a nice little design. So if you want to do jewelry, or you wanted to do a stamp with it, or you just want it as a, so 1 hour and 7 minutes, and then we would go to save to the file. You save that to the desktop, okay? In fact, I'm going to, well, I'm going to put that in the file, which I'm going to link you guys in a minute. So that's Kira. The custom ones, it gets real dicey, and I literally would have to sit down with you and go through all the different settings, the quality, the shell. Look at the shell as like a orange, and how thick your steel is, and like a honeycomb in the middle. Material would be how you know, hot it is. Flow. And build plate adhesion would be a brim would be like a little outside area that keeps your print from falling off. And support would be it would build something underneath that would be either ripped off later on, or with the 3 it would be dissolved in water. Does that make sense? All right, we're gonna,
Yes.
all righty, cool. So let's go. I'm gonna show you. Here. Here. Go to, now that I know share. Here. Mirror. All right. This one is a little bit more advanced. It's really super. This one I believe is a water molecule. All you need to do, like I barely use any of this, is you would fetch it by ID with something called PubChem, which I'm not going to pull up, and you would just look through their website, and you would look through oxygen, and you would find that. Okay, you can move this around. You can also go and you can change, if you wanted to have all the buttons on it or the bulbs, you can do that. There's all sorts of cool stuff that you can play around with. That's what I meant to do. Here we are. So you can make it ball and stick. And when you like what you want, you can 3D print it. And you can add this if people want real steam. This is real steam right here. You're taking science and chemistry and putting it in with art, which, so what you're going to do, you're going to save, export the scene, and you're going to go down to that STL that we were just talking about, and then you're going to go to water, okay? And we're going to just go to, and we're going to save that. And we'll hide this, and let me go back to here. Apologize. We're going to go back to our Ultimaker, and again, we're going to go to open, and we're going to find that water molecule, and biggity bam, it's really small right now, so we're going to have to make that larger to 3D print. This is something that I talk about with my students with scaling, and we'll make this 300. We'll make this 1,000. So there's your water molecule. Now I'd have to probably go in the settings before I 3D printed. Just for giggles, I did a bunch of weird drugs like cocaine and heroin and not aspirin. There was a bunch of other weird ones just to see what was on there. I think I did nitrogen. And there's your 3D. So those are a couple two cool things. The other one, real super quick. Let me just show you turtle art, and then I'll share my files, and then we can have a little Q&A, because I'm sure everyone has a billion questions. So I already showed you guys the, and let me go back to new share so everybody can see that turtle art. Real super easy. Again, turtle art's totally free. And it's literally drag and drop, just like Scratch. So we might want to put a left in here. And it's literally that easy to create something. And there's a whole process with this, which I can show you the workflow for. So you can just change the numbers in there. Again, using math, you talk about STEAM, engineering, stuff like this. This stuff is just fun artwork, teaching basic coding, and we can 3D print that design right there. And then we would go to save. It saves as a PNG, which is a picture file, but the code is in there because that's how brilliant it is. So we're going to call this PAEA turtle arch, and I'll throw that one on there as well. So let me just hide everything, and we'll go back to Zoom and stop sharing. And can everybody see me now, or are we back in the?
We can see you.
Oh, yeah. All right. So let's go. I guess, do we want to open up the chat, or do we want to open it up to I want to unmute everybody.
We can unmute. Everybody can unmute, or they can just type questions into the chat roll.
Let's unmute, because we know mostly everybody here. So everybody unmute. If you have a question for me, I will answer it as best I can, and I will definitely. I think it's, Jill, I probably think it'd be better. I'll send you the link to that, like literally right after this, so you can just email it to everybody.
Yep.
Cool.
Works for me.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Don't be shy now. We all know each other. Hi, Vanessa.
I have a question. How large can you print?
I can 3D print the size of your head or larger. My Ultimaker 2 Plus Extended has a huge build volume. I don't know the actual number off the top of my head, but I could print really large. Like I could print, I'm in my studio, so I can bear with me. I could probably print, excuse me, I'm gonna walk away from the computer. I'm not being rude. I'm getting my T-square here. I probably can print, just from knowing the printer, I probably can print 18 inches tall by maybe a foot wide. It's a pretty big volume. That's like my workhorse. That's the one that's on permanent loan from Ultimaker. like that one has, and I've replaced a lot of parts, but that one has over 1,000 hours. So I could print pretty large. The 3 has a pretty big, large. The To-Go, not so much. And I also have 2 Dremels, which I don't, not that I don't tell everyone, but I don't work for Dremel. They were very nice. So they won the contest for the community chess pieces. So, but those are probably the size of like, I want to say 2 or 3 loaves of bread with they have a pretty decent Dremel, and I printed some big pieces with those. My mono price is pretty small. It's probably the size of, half a quart of milk. Just I'm looking at it right now. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, that really helps. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how are you printing your bronze pieces?
So the bronze is a combination of polylactic acid, which is corn-based, and actual copper. It's about 60% PLA, 40% bronze. So it extrudes just like regular plastic, and it is plastic. There is a way, there's a company called Filament, which I don't use because it's just too brittle. They have one that you can actually put in the kiln, and it burns out the PLA, and you get 99% metal, but it's really difficult to use. In fact, I just loaned someone my kiln that I've had for 2 years because I haven't had a chance to get a really good print from it. But ColorFab is the company that I use for my metal, and Protopasta. Those are the two Protopasta is in Oregon. ColorFab is in the Netherlands. I use a bunch of different materials with a bunch of different places. And if you didn't know, with like the chess pieces, because I had, actually it was 2016 because the convention PAEA was at Moore. Printed Solid gave me a whole roll of it for free. So we printed them solid. So they are actually weighted like real chess pieces. But so I do a lot of post-processing. So what I'll do is I'll take the bronze and I'll use like 5 different grades of sandpaper. I'll sand it. I'll throw it in the rock tumbler overnight with like, I think there's 5 different kinds of brass screws, and it comes out and it looks almost golden, not even bronze. But yeah, and there's lots of videos online. Even if I know ColorFab has a good YouTube feed. You can see like their stuff in action. Like, and you wouldn't know unless you picked it up, unless you were, a sculptor, or you probably could, if you went and looked at it with a microscope, you could tell. But from appearances, like from far away, you're not going to really know the difference.
So but you can print them with a regular, like I have MakerBots.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. MakerBot. Yeah. Any of that stuff. Yeah. I don't know the warranties with that because I don't want to tell you something and have your, the MakerBots, but yeah, you could totally get that for MakerBot. It comes in 1.75 and 2.85. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Lynn, no questions from you?
I will have questions, but I'm not right now.
Yeah, but yeah, you're coming to visit.
Saving them off for the summer.
Yeah, you're coming. You're going to go hang out with the guru this summer. But okay, you and Angela, you guys just pull down and write down all your notes, and we'll get them straightened out. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me and about what I do with my students. And like on a side note, Saeed, which I was talking to you about, like I actually gave him an older 3D printer that I had gotten real cheap off the internet, and like literally it changed this kid's life, which is kind of cool. Like he's at Rutgers and studying engineering, and because I'm friends with one of the education directors at Franklin Institute. Speaking of MakerBots, they switched to some other filament, and they had literally 100 rolls they were going to throw out. So I used that on my Dremels at Chad, and we just print like crazy. So yeah, so I'm pretty lucky in that respect, and I try to share that stuff with my students. And I said, listen, this is something you're not going to get, except for maybe no offense, but like Friend Select or something like that, and they're not even doing the kind of things that I'm doing. And that's why, if you guys ever want to Skype or need me, I told Diane Wilkins numerous times and other people, I'm like, which is why we're doing this webinar. If you guys want to know real specific things, let me know, and I can, do a Skype session with you, or you can come visit me at Chad, or wherever I'm, at the summer. I also teach one last mini plug. In the fall, I'll be teaching K-12 3D printing, 3D printing for K-12 educators. And it's usually a really small class. It's under 10 people. And I have all my Ultimakers there. And UART's really gets us a lot of good filament. We try a lot of cool stuff. So, and you never know, the 3D printer might make a appearance. Any other questions? Concerns? I think we're almost running out of time.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there then.